young people in rural areas across our country. As a nation, we should be encouraging more young Americans to pursue a career in farming, not just discouraging them. Today, the average age of a farmer is nearly 60 years old. This could cause massive problems in agriculture industry in just a few years. The title of today's hearing, Children, make sure I get this right, Children at Risk, Examining Workplace Protections for Child Farm Workers. Children at risk in America are because of policies like an open border, where fentanyl comes across and kills our youth, where we have massive inflation at a 40-year high, record high gas prices, so parents can't afford things to take care of their children. Children are at risk from the spending in Washington, D.C. that we've seen happening over the past few years under one-party rule from the Democrats and the Biden administration. Children at risk of their future opportunities because they're going to have to pay back that money. And what we want to do here is villainize America's farmers. As a young child, I worked on a farm. I was 14, 15 years old. I helped bale hay and do chores on the farm. And, you know, as far as farmers saying, go run in dangerous equipment, that didn't happen. Farmers don't want people hurt. And it troubles me that we're having these hearings when Secretary Walsh was before the committee, and I had to ask him 3 times. And in my experience in working in a factory and working on a farm is that the people that owned that business cared, and they cared about my well-being. And it took me several tries to get him to admit he believed the same thing. He said he'd like to. And when we have policymakers that look at Americans that produce our food as bad people, I really wonder what's at risk here. I learned a lot of things farming. I learned things that were important to me when I was a youngster. I learned how to drive. I learned how to do a lot of things. And I learned things that benefited me later in life, like a work ethic, how to problem solve, how to do a lot of things. That's what I learned. And I'm reminded of a thing said by Paul Harvey. He used to be a radio personality, a host. He had a show, and he would talk about things. And one thing he said in 1978, and I'm going to read it for the committee. And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, and then go down to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. I need somebody with arms strong enough to rustle a calf, yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to call hogs, tame cantankerous machinery, come home hungry, and have to wait lunch until his wife's done feeding, visiting ladies, and tell the ladies to be sure to come back real soon and mean it. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay wire, feed sacks out of shoe scraps, and who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, then paint him from tractor back, put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God had to have somebody willing to ride the ruts at double speed to get the hay in ahead of the rain clouds, and yet stop in midfield and race to help when he sees the first smoke from a neighbor's place. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to tame lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk and replenish the self-feeder and finish a hard work's week with a 5-mile drive to church. Somebody who'd bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says he wants to spend his life doing what dad does. So God made a farmer. I worked on a farm. And I know how much the person that later became my stepdad after I got married cared about other people, cared about me coming to help on his farm as a kid from town. And I tell you what, I just want to say thank you to my stepdad for caring, for loving me, and teaching me so many valuable lessons of how special it is to be here in the United States of America. And we should be focusing on the issues I mentioned first that are putting our children at risk, which is an open border where fentanyl is pouring across, killing young Americans, where parents can't afford to buy things for their kids because we're dealing with record high inflation, high gas prices, and where they're going to have to pay back this debt. If we want our kids to have it better off than we did, those are the things we should be focused on. I yield back.
Thank you to the ranking member. Thank you very much.